Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, I've had a couple people ask me, and I had looked online as well when I first started, kind of how I put these race videos together, taking the data from your Wahoo or Garmin, your GoPro footage, front and rear cameras, all that good stuff. Thought I'd just go over how I do that, a little bit of my workflow. Hopefully it'll help you guys. If you're not familiar, there's a couple of different main pieces of software for the telemetry data, Dashware and VIRB or Verb from Garmin. I use Dashware. It's more flexible and allows you to customize it a lot more than Verb. I'd say right out of the box, if you're just wanting to put your data with one GoPro video, Verb's going to get you a prettier look quicker. But if you want to customize and do some extra things, Dashware is probably the way to go. So if you don't have Dashware, you want to go download it. It currently is at dashware.net, and then they've got a download tab, but depending on when you watch this video and if that changes, just type in Dashware into your favorite search engine and go and grab that and get it installed. The other piece of software we'll need is DaVinci Resolve, or a video editor. I use DaVinci Resolve. If you already have Adobe Premiere, you're familiar with that, that's a good one. You can probably do a lot of this same stuff on the Mac in some sort of a native editor over there. Something that allows you to put multiple clips together, layer them up, organize them, and then render out your footage. But what I'm going to show you here is DaVinci Resolve. It's a free package. Again, just go and do a search for DaVinci Resolve, and right now it's at blackmagicdesign.com, and you can just go download that, get it set up and installed. We'll walk through that software here in a second. Let's go ahead and go over to Dashware and look at it. Once it's installed and it's opened up, it should look something like this. Basically not a lot going on. We're going to want to put in our telemetry data. We're going to need that telemetry data file from Strava is the easiest way to get it. We go over to Strava. You'll want to go to the ride that you were wanting to include the telemetry data on, and it'll be something like strava.com, your activities, and then some long number. When you're in a view like that, what you want to do is you want to highlight that address bar and then put /export_TCX. It's kind of a hidden feature of Strava. They no longer have the TCX export under the export menu, but you can still get this file. This is the file that actually includes the data, at least as it pertains to a Wahoo file that was uploaded for sure. So press enter on that. It'll take it a second, and then it'll pop up a save as file, and you're going to be able to name that file. It's going to be .tcx. Put it wherever you'd like to reference it for later, and then we'll store that and come back to it. One step I almost missed. Inside of Dashware, the process that I use is such that gives me the most flexibility when I'm editing things together. So load up DaVinci Resolve. When you first load up DaVinci Resolve, it's most likely going to start up in the Cut tab. These are the different workflows that you can work inside of DaVinci Resolve. What I like to work in is the Edit tab. If your screen doesn't look like this, chances are some of the different property panels are not showing up. I have the effects library and the media pool up. The effects library is where we're going to grab the first piece of information we need. So under generators, we're going to take and we're going to drag this solid color over onto the timeline. And all that's going to do is we're going to use this to export out the longest video you think you'll ever need or that you're trying to create right now inside of Dashware. And why we're doing this is a lot of the GoPro footage, it'll get split up, and maybe you recorded a 30-minute or a 50-minute race. It's going to be 6 or 8, 9 different GoPro files. And so that we don't have to combine those in a render process, because the rendering takes extra amount of time. I know you guys on laptops and other lower end hardware, I mean, the rendering time of processing these can take, you know, hours upon hours. So this is going to create the least amount of rendering time that we can possibly get to. So we're going to render this this blank video file. It's going to be super quick to export. I have a 4-hour version that I use, and I'll show you how you trim that in Dashware. But if you guys are only going to do a 30 or 40-minute races, then just make you a 50-minute version, and then you'll be able to trim that excess off later. So we've got our black video clip here. Over here you'll see the inspector. If you don't see the inspector, turn it on. I'm going to turn my color to something other than black, just so I kind of see that there is something there. Again, you're going to stretch this black video out, or green video out, blue video out, whatever you want, for as long as you think you're going to need it. Now, the one that I'm going to do here is going to be 30 seconds long, just as a little test or thereabouts. Once we have our solid color video frame, we're going to go over to the Deliver tab, and on the Deliver tab, that's going to allow us to render out what we're looking at here. Typically this start and finish will come over and snap to the length of the video clip that we just plugged over here, but I already had DaVinci open, so apologize about that. Once this is set up, you can set your in and out points. Again, we're wanting to record or render out a 30 or 45 minute, 4-hour, whatever clip. We're going to come up here and name it. I call mine blank video. I'm going to put it where I can reference it. And I like to use MP4 and H.264. It is important that you use the similar video frame rate and format that you're going to be using for your GoPro. So if you record 4K, 60, or 2.7K, whatever that format is, make sure that your project settings are set up that way, as well as your render process here. I do 1080-60 on all mine. Once you've got that set up right, we're just going to click this Add to Render Queue, and I'm going to replace the one that's over there. That is this here. I'm going to close the one that I already had out there, and then nothing's going to happen until I tell it to render. So if you have several things that you need to render out or want to set up, and then maybe let it sit overnight or over lunch hour, you can set those up, add them to render queue, and then finally you're going to want to press render, and then it's going to actually render out this clip. So again, this is a really short one. I'm on a pretty good machine here, so we're already done with that. Now we're actually ready. We've got our TCX file and our blank video. Now we can go over to Dashware, and we can actually start to create some of the layers and the things that we're going to want to put together. So inside of Dashware, we're going to do File. We're going to do a new project. Name it whatever you'd like. I'm not going to pick a template. We'll set a template up later. But for this one, I don't want a template. I'm going to say OK. And it doesn't really look like anything changed. We've still got a black screen over here, a few panels over here changed. The two key things that we need is the video and the data file. So under video, we're going to click this plus button. We're going to go find that video that it just exported. Right there. And now there's our green video, and it's 30.5 seconds long. All right, then we're going to add our data file and go look for that. And I'm going to use one that's got some extra data on it. We want to make sure it's a TCX, it should pick that up automatically. If there are other formats, I know there's some GPX and some FIT files. It will have a certain amount of data in it, but it may not have the power if you're looking for that. I found TCX works the best for Dashware, so I always do that Strava export TCX trick, and I use that. So now I've got the power data, the telemetry, excuse me, and the video file. Nothing's really changed. That's because we don't have any gauges that are going to give us the visual feedback of what is going on in these data files. So we're going to go over here in the top and click on Gauge Toolbox. By default, there's a lot of gauges in here. You're going to probably want to create your own, or at least tweak some. But right now, I'm just going to drag a couple of these that they have in here. We're going to bring a heart rate, bring a power bar. And I'm just going to place these just in a place over here. I like to see the track, so you can pick one of these that has the track, your GPS kind of breadcrumb trail, and there's all kinds of data that's inside your telemetry, elevation, speed, all kinds of stuff. So drag out all your gauges that you're wanting to link up, and make sure that they're tied into the right data. And how you do that, if you've created the gauge, you're going to need to create that part of it. But if it's one of these that's already created, you can double click that. For instance, this text here is dynamic text, and it is tied into the heart rate data field. I'm not going to in this video get into how to set all this kind of stuff up. It can be as complicated as you want, but just know that you can probably poke around on some of these pre-done gauges and figure it out, and then create what you want yourself. So these gauges are now tied into the appropriate data, and if we go over to the project setting, we want to start seeing what that looks like. So you might scrub this, or you might push play, and it doesn't look like anything's happening. Yes, it has 93 beats per minute and 169 power, but it's not changing. It's not doing anything. What we need to do is we need to sync up the video and the data. Now, in this workflow that I use, I don't need to sync up a particular part of the video because all we have is green. But if you're using a GoPro clip, you're going to want to go over here to synchronization, and you're going to want to scrub to the spot that you visually know. Maybe you're in a corner, or it was at the actual start, but you didn't start your video and your ride at the exact same time. So you're going to get to where you want to be, and then you're going to click sync video, sync with video. On this workflow that I use, I'm just going to start at the very beginning, and I'm going to click that same sync with video, because I want the start of my video to be the start of my power. And I'll show you how we're going to use that over in DaVinci Resolve. Basically, all I want is a video clip that shows me visually all this data, and then we're gonna organize our edit over in DaVinci Resolve. So now we have a video clip that has our power data, and we are ready to export that out. One of the nice things about Dashware that I really like about this workflow is up here we can do a file, and then we can create a gauge image sequence. Now, an image sequence, if you don't know, is basically just a bunch of files like a video file, but they're all individual frames. So just be prepared that if you've got a 30-minute video, you may have 10,000 frames. That's 30 or 60 frames a second for 30 minutes. Whatever that math is, you're going to have a lot of individual files. Now, when we get over to DaVinci Resolve, it's going to be able to bring all of those files in as one clip, but on your hard drive, it's going to be a lot of individual files. Once we've used them and rendered out our final stuff, we can get rid of them and not have a lot of leftovers. But we're going to click Create Gauge Image Sequence. tell it the proper format that you want and where you're going to put it. That looks like it'll be fine for me. I'm going to say create. For this video, I'm not going to let it process the entire piece, but just know that it is saving a bunch of individual files of this entire sequence out. So I'm going to cancel on that. Now we're ready to go over to DaVinci Resolve and start to put all our pieces together. So under the Edit tab, we can kill the blank video that we had. We're going to right click in our media pool and we're going to import media. And where we want to go is to what we just created. This is that image sequence, and here's all those individual files that you heard me talking about. So we're going to scroll all the way to the end. I'm going to press Shift on the PC and select all of those. I believe you can do a Control A as well, but anyway, select all of those files and say Open. That's going to let DaVinci Resolve know, hey, I need all of those files, and it's going to recognize it as an image sequence. So notice it's just one clip up here, and when I hover over it, the data that it got rendered out is here. Now obviously I didn't let it render the entire clip out, but you can see we've got a video clip here. We can drag that down to our timeline, and in our timeline we're going to use this like a compositor or photo editor, where we're going to build up the layers of our content. We're going to have our power. We're going to have maybe a front camera, a back camera. You can do a background layer, all kinds of different things. You can get as creative as you want. All right, so for purposes of illustration here, I don't have any video that we're going to look at, but you would bring in your GoPro footage, front and rear cameras, whatever other things you're wanting to do, and you're going to drag those onto your timeline as well. For purposes of this, I'm just going to drag in another solid color generator, and we're going to colorize it so that we can kind of see it. Let's pick a blue here, and notice where I put it, it added another video track. So that's I believe we have unlimited video tracks inside of the free version. But certainly you have as many as you need for projects such as this. I'm going to organize this a little bit. Our power data we're going to want on the top of everything, so I'm going to drag it to the top. I'm going to drag this guy down to the bottom, and if all we wanted to do was a look like this, we could have done this over in Dashware, but what we're trying to do is create a front and a rear camera, and or dress out some other graphics that Dashware can't do. So one thing that if you're going to do a front and a rear camera, you might want to do is you might want to make some room in one of the corners for that other video clip. So I'm going to drag another generator over here, and on this one we're going to make it a different color so that again we can see the difference of it compared to the others. Notice it's a different color, but it's just on top of the other one. So how do we make one let the other one kind of see through? So we're going to select the one we want to make adjustments to, and then over under the inspector we're going to go over and click on the settings, and on the settings we have transform and crop, and there's lots of filters and all kinds of stuff you can do over here. The one main thing I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom, which is basically scale this one down. So for instance, if this was our rear camera, I'm going to scale it down, and then I'm going to push it over to the right, and I'm going to pull it down in the Y and position it where I want. Alright, so think of all of this color as one video clip. Maybe it's your front, maybe it's your rear camera, and this color as the other video clip. If you would like, you can take this blue, which is this bottom one, and you can do some of the same stuff to it. So maybe we maybe we want to push it all the way up over here like that, so that we kind of have some space here for either a background graphic or another little video, or just whatever. Maybe it's a logo of your team, kind of like we did at Team Sarco. I'm going to position this just a little differently real quick. Something about like that. So now we've got our track here, the course that we rode, kind of in its own place. We've got the power, heart rate. Obviously you could have had other gauges and then have them in different places. The one thing to note is plan on where you want these gauges to be when you're over in Dashware for your final clip. Now there are ways and techniques you can take this and chop it up after the fact. I'm not going to get into that, but you could make multiple layers of this and crop just your power out, crop just your heart rate out, and move those over here, because remember it's a transparent layer. It can go over and put it anywhere you want. So if I want to now put the power up here for some reason, I can do that, but my track is no longer there. So I would need to bring my course in, and then maybe I want to put, oops, wrong one. Maybe I want to put the course down here. So you can do that, but it just gets a little bit more complicated. Ideally, you want to set up a template over in Dashware, save that template out, use it each time, and you can also do the same over here in DaVinci Resolve. Basically save this project as a template, and you'll be able to replace the video clips that you're using, these two different blue ones, with your real GoPro footage, and you'll get a real good quick jump start on being able to produce these videos. So I'm going to delete that file there, and we're going to reset the power. So if we're at this point and we're ready to render, maybe we've added a logo or a background. Right now this is just black, it's going to render out black, but maybe you've got a cool background image that you want to put back there. Again, drag another video clip out here, or a photo, or whatever it is that you're wanting to put back there in that area, and that video clip is black, so we need to go to our inspector and generator, and then if we change that to, say, another pretty color, the mauve color there, all of that could be a photo, it could be a video background that you download or purchase from another site. Whatever it is, you can add drop shadows, you can get as creative as you want with this, like I mentioned. Once you have this set up, we're going to do that same render process and render this out. So we'd go over to deliver. Everything's all synced up and ready. If it's not, you can make adjustments to it, and set up your export properties and add it to the render queue, and then press render. Now, for those that want to do voiceover, you'll just add your voiceover in the edit section here. You'll have some different audio clips from your different video pieces. You'll have audio. If you have voiceover, you can add that. Not getting into all the details about what you can do inside of DaVinci Resolve, but explore it, check it out. This is generally how I do most of my stuff, and it works pretty good. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask them below. I'll try and respond. If I don't, maybe others will. YouTube's a great community, and that's why I'm making this video, to share what I know and learned with you guys. So appreciate you looking and watching, and talk to you later.